Well, howdy, and welcome to TWP episode 10. We're going to talk about the Browns, last week's upcoming matchup. We're going to talk about the Cavs. They've played 4 games since we last spoke. And we got a few other tips and tricks in there for you. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Zach, you ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Hell yeah, brother. So this week, the Browns dominated the Cardinals 27-0 at home. Zach, initial reactions?
So they were on our rookie quarterback, and 5 minutes before the game starts, they start nicknaming him Clayton two-time, and you can see that they won him on SportsCenter top 10. But initial reactions, dude, we shut him out. Like, how can you be mad about a shutout game? Lots of things to improve, but we beat a 1-7 team and we blew them out. Kind of did what we were supposed to do, right?
Yeah, no, a win is a win in the NFL. It doesn't really matter who your opponent is. And yeah, our defense led the way as they have pretty much all year. I think obviously the biggest story is that we got to see Deshaun play a full game. And I'll just say I think he played better as the game went on.
That's a nice way to say that. That's a great way to say it. It's the same way we talk about P.J. Walker. He's not the best quarterback he can be. I mean, the guy's,
Yeah, I mean, between Deshaun and Clayton Tune, I think Deshaun was better, but Deshaun is a $230 million guaranteed quarterback, and Clayton Tune might not play much in the NFL ever. Yeah, no, but, it comes at a good time. We're 5-3. And yeah, we have a huge matchup coming up. So this was a win we absolutely needed to get under our belts.
Absolutely. And notable news, Jed Wills left the game. Jed Wills was rumored to have a season-ending injury. Kevin Stefanski came out Monday and said it's not season-ending, but I think they're putting him on IR. So yeah. We left a little worse than we came in. So that's just something to look out for,
Yeah, no, MCL sprain, not as bad as it seemed on the field. On the field, it looked like he was going to be in crutches for 6 to 12 weeks. So, yeah, the fact that we might get him back is good, and it's good for him too because I think this is a contract year. I think he has his 5th-year option. So, I mean, he's shown improvements, and we would love to see him get back for hopefully a great playoff run.
Absolutely. And Jed Wills is on the offensive side. On the defensive side, which, guys, TWP episode 10, smash that subscribe button, hit that bell, get those notifications. But something about our pod is we've been talking about the defense. We've been giving the defense their flowers, right? And rightfully so. This is a historic performance. We called that episode 2. Go back and take a look at that. But, Tom, I wanted to ask you, it's a historic performance, right? Other than what we're going to talk about or what is already talked about, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, other than the main usual suspects, what are some unappreciated things that people aren't highlighting about this defense?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, the whole defense, I feel like, is playing as expected or better. And that's like every player on an individual level. I don't think you have any weak spots. I would say I'll start with the defensive line because we drafted Siaki Ika in the 4th round. And we really thought that this guy would be a part of our defense, and he hasn't been, simply because there are 4 guys in front of him who are all playing great football right now. Shelby Harris, Dalvin Tomlinson, biggest game as a Brown, he had 2.5 sacks. Shelby Harris with a strip sack. Maurice Hurst, belly rubber, has been on fire. And Jordan Elliott having his best year as a Brown. Yep. He has been knifing through the defense. Several tackles for loss, several sacks. I mean, I'm so glad that our defensive line has gone from the worst in the league to arguably the best, and we don't have to count on mid-round rookies. Siaki Ika can take a year and develop. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's just no weak spots. I want to shout every player out. The first person that comes to mind outside of the defensive line is Cam Mitchell, a rookie who's actually good friends with Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome and him played at Northwestern together, And I guess they were friends before they went to college together. I think Newsome recruited Mitchell, but Mitchell got the start, and he had the highest PFF grade of our whole defense on Sunday. He played great football, and it's like, wow, did the Browns find another gem at cornerback in the mid to late rounds? I think he's a 5th round or 6th round pick. I mean, that kind of production from a rookie who's not expected to see the field it's freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah. And, man, Mo Hurst is one of my favorite players right now.
I know. I try not to talk about him because I know how much you love him, man.
Oh, man. I'm eating. I finish my food. And as soon as he sacks and does the I'm hungry, I'm like, dude, I'm hungry. Like, let me see that again. Halloween always comes, and Myles Garrett is always going crazy. He's always, doing a decoration. And then the next 3 weeks after that, it's like he is a Grim Reaper. So it's nice for him when he goes on the post game press conference and he's just giving Dalvin Tomlinson his flowers. Yeah. I loved hearing him talk about Dalvin Tomlinson because I think that might have been one of the first people we kind of picked up in the offseason. And there's some guys where you see him make a tackle and you're like, I remember when I was excited about you. You were our first defensive acquisition, and now we have so many different acquisitions, but it's been really fun to watch, man. Let me ask you this, on the secondary and our linebackers, I mean, a lot of people talked about going into this season, we're so worried about our linebacker. Are we that deep at secondary? What do you say to those people? I mean, especially those people worried about the linebackers, that's the hill they were dying on, is that, we need to make a change at linebacker.
I mean, I tried to constantly remind people that our linebackers are good. They just got hurt last year. Anthony Walker only played 3 games last year, but over the course of those 3 games, he was top 10 in the league in PFF grades for all defensive players. He was playing great football, and he's clearly a great leader. Owuzu Koromoa has just been somebody who wasn't utilized properly in a really terrible Joe Woods defense. Taki has gotten better every year. I think the system is letting these guys play free. I think the veterans are keeping everyone in check, and the talent is, cream rises to the top, as Macho Man Randy Savage would say. The cream, it always rises to the top. And that's this defense right now. There isn't a weakness. There really isn't. The run defense is incredible. The pass defense is incredible. And the closer we get to the red zone, the more we hunker down, the more likely we are to get a big sack or get a turnover. And the turnovers, that was the only thing a few weeks ago that people were saying we're one of the lowest teams in terms of turnovers generated. Not been the case for the last few weeks. So, I mean, they're excelling in every category. And I just want to point out, they only gave up 50 yards this week. 54 yards or 56 yards, some odd number. That is unbelievable. I know they were playing a rookie quarterback who, didn't belong to be there. But the top 3 performances of net yardage for defenses all year are all to the Browns. And this one topped them. Our defense is historically impressive. So now to transition to talking more in depth about our boy Deshaun. He had some big throws in this game that you would say, oh, wow, there's the glimmer of hope. There is what you're looking for. But he also had a lot of plays where he looked a little shaky. Do you feel like you have more questions or more answers about Deshaun's play, Zach?
I have more questions. I have maybe not questions. I'm just not sold. I don't feel good. He had, if you really break this thing down, he had 2 passes, one long one to Amari, and then that one that was, out and to the sideline. I think that was Amari as well. Mm-hmm. So he had, the game goes on, you go, gun to my head, say something positive about Deshaun Watson, non-personal life. I'm like, okay, after, the 3rd quarter, he was doing okay, but the question remains is how he's going to be against the Ravens, and nobody that can watch the game can sit there eye test wise and tell you he made great passes. The touchdown that we had to Amari Cooper was, if you look at it, it was going in the dirt. And then, thank God, we all prayed Sunday morning, and God was like, no, helmet, hit your head, boom, and we have Amari Cooper. So, Tom, I'm just gonna I'm really restraining myself because I've had some really negative moments, you can say, while I was watching it. But I mean, I at one point when we were watching the game, we looked at each other and we were like, oh, can you believe he's like 75% completion? Like, Zach, you've been crapping on him for the last 10 hours, and he's kind of good at. And I'm like, man, those completions are for 2 yards. So, positive side, that Amari Cooper throw, I have rewind that every single day, because if we take something away, it's that. But the real test is going to be against the Ravens.
I completely agree. And on his first touchdown that he threw to Amari, it was an angels in the end zone kind of moment. Like, it bounced off a defensive player, went into the air, and it was a jump ball, and Amari made a play. But yeah, one of his touchdowns was literally an accident. So he really only threw one touchdown this game on purpose. Yeah, I think the glimmers of hope are in those 2 big throws, or a handful of big throws that he had, where you're like, oh, that was on a rope, that was on target, that was in good coverage, and he threw it right to the receiver. But I would say the other hopeful things that we've seen are his presence in the pocket. He is athletic, and he can feel the pocket collapsing. I would say the downside to that, though, is he looks like he's got the yips still. He looks like he hasn't played in a few years, and he has a moment where he's starting to roll out, and it's like, if you take just one more step, or you set your feet just a little bit more, you can throw it with some touch. But it felt like on many throws, as he was getting out of the pocket as it was collapsing, he just rushed quick throws to running backs or tight ends. And it also felt like, yeah, the majority of his throws were checkdowns. It's like, oh, I'm gonna survive for 5 to 7 seconds, and then I'm just going to hopefully throw it to Jerome Ford, and Jerome will make a play. But this is the game to work those kinks out. That's what we said heading into this. This is a game where you should go make some mistakes if you need to get them out of your system, but go see a few, shots go in. Go see a few deep balls land right in the pocket. And another good thing about that Amari Cooper pass into double coverage at the end of the game, it was a bomb, and it was right into his basket. That wasn't a Kevin Stefanski call. That was an Amari and Deshaun checking it and saying, like, hey, coach, we saw that this would be open. If they're running this coverage, we're going to do that. And he said, okay, I trust you guys. And, I mean, it's great that he has good chemistry with Amari, and I hope that Kevin can continue to trust him more and more, because ultimately this is the bed that we made. We have to sleep in it. Yikes, not a great analogy to use with Deshaun. But we'll see. This is the real test. And we're about to play the Ravens, who are arguably the best team in the NFL right now, in the best division in football. So, yeah, he's got to go into Baltimore, and he's got to step up. He's got to play better than he played this past week.
He does. And the thing about it is, he might not have to play like the Deshaun that we have known, because we are establishing a running game. We're giving the play action time. We are giving the defense. We're not telling them, like, all we're going to do is throw. I think going into last week, we said, if Deshaun starts, call the game like you're calling it for PJ Walker, because he'll be better, and we've almost won, and we've beat the Niners with PJ Walker. So, Tom, that kind of got me thinking, this running success that we've had, it seems like it doesn't matter if it's with Pierre Strong, with Nick Chubb, rest in peace to our boy. But I was wondering, like, this running success that we're having, who do you attribute this to? Is it Kevin? Is it the line? Is it these individual running backs themselves? And then if you had to rank them, where would you rank them and how important?
Well, I would like to not divide them up and say that everybody plays a role in the success of this running game. But Kevin, I'll put him second. I'll say first off, it's the O-line. I think it's clearly the O-line. The O-line is good to great. And, yeah, I think Kevin has some misses and some hits when calling running plays. Like, sometimes He gets too creative. He wants to do too many delayed handoffs. He doesn't want to just rush it up the middle when it's like, hey man, it's 3rd and 1. Especially when you got a guy like Kareem Hunt, who's a bruiser, tough guy. Just let him go fight for that extra yard. And I would put last the 3 running backs. I do really like these guys, but if I had to rank them, I would put them 3rd in terms of most crucial in making a productive running game. I mean, since Kevin has come here, we've basically averaged around 150 rushing yards a game, which is always like top 3 to top 5 in the league, if not the best rushing game in the league. He just knows how to have a productive offense, so he deserves a ton of credit as well. But if I had to rank these guys, as a former Willoughby South alumni, same graduating class as Kareem Hunt, I got to put him at number 1. I have to. And at number 2, just in terms of, I think, potential, I'm going to say Jerome Ford. And I'm going to put Pierre Strong at 3, but I feel like all of these guys have different strengths that we can utilize. I think Strong and Ford have quite a bit more burst. They can both turn, a small play into a home run. I think Strong is a bit more of a rhythm runner. Once he gets going, he kind of starts cooking. And I think Kareem Hunt, for being a bruiser, is also very slippery. He has incredible hips and incredible balance. Ever since he was a little kid, he's known how to absorb a hit and land on the other foot. And that's been the case since Pee Wee. I've seen it my whole life. He's got some things that you can't coach running backs. So I love this committee. Where would you rank these 3? And also, who do you think is the most important in the rushing game?
I think it's Kareem by a long, long way. Because I think 4th and 1, it's no question Kareem can get that 1 yard. I think if you really need yards, you can get it from him. And I think it's been so impressive to watch a guy come off his couch, train really hard, have that discipline in the offseason. I mean, he didn't know what team he was going to go to. So I really want to give him that props. Completely agree with your rankings. And then I think even above all those guys, Coach Callahan, the way he is coaching this line, and it seems like backup, 3rd string, no center, whatever you want to plug and play these guys, it's clear that the Cleveland Browns have the best offensive line coach, and they are an offensive lineman factory. And that's why we say Deshaun doesn't need to be a hero, because we have so many things clicking from our defense to the line. Those are some of the most important aspects of football right there. And we have, got them. So totally agree with your rankings and love Coach Callahan and what he's doing over there. And, man, the fact that Pierre Strong is a guy we can even put in a rank says all you need to know, because he was a 3rd string at the Patriots, and the Patriots never give us somebody that's good. I mean, Winovich we got last year. We cut him this year. They never really let go of people because they have a great eye for talent. So,
yeah. And I said it when Nick Chubb went down, and it was not a knock on Nick Chubb, and it still isn't. But I'm not surprised that we haven't seen a drop off. Kevin Stefanski, Bill Callahan, Stump Mitchell, the running backs coach, they know how to get a productive running game, and it's been consistent the whole time that Kevin's been here. And it's going to continue to be consistent. I imagine if we don't re-sign Kareem Hunt next year, I have full faith not only that Nick Chubb will return, but that Ford and Strong can evolve into starting caliber running backs with the staff we have, the line we have. I mean, our running game is going to continue to dominate, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. So that does lead into this matchup this week. We play the Ravens for the second time, rematch. Definitely a sore subject still for Zach and I. We went to the first matchup in Cleveland on October 1st, where we got absolutely trounced. But the good thing about this matchup is we aren't going to have the rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson having his first start. In fact, he won't see the field if we are lucky. We have Deshaun Watson starting. And if you recall, last time they met last year, with Deshaun starting, we beat them 13-3, and that was a good Ravens team, quite similar to the Ravens team we're about to face this week. Zach, initial predictions, initial matchups you want to watch out for. Who do you think the X factors are in this game?
This week, I don't want to predict anything because I'm nervous. I mean, these guys are 7-2. I'm nervous. I think this game is going to come down to. If we lose, God forbid, let me know the guy we paid $230 is good. Show me that. Let this be in a battle. Don't let this be. These guys are talking about the Ravens defense being right next to the Browns, but listen, this week this will show us the fact that DTR is not starting against the Ravens is good. It can let me and you heal after what happened last time, and we just went through what to expect. They have great people. We played them a couple weeks ago, but guys, a win here at Baltimore will have us probably lead in with a Super Bowl speech in the next pod. I think that is how important this win is.
Yeah, I think it's no understatement to say that this is the most important game of the year so far, and it might end up being the most important game of the year for the whole season. They currently are the number one team in the AFC, and they're the number one team in our division, which is a very competitive division. And yeah, as long as they continue to let other teams make mistakes, they'll continue to dominate because they have a great running game, they have a great defense, and Lamar is an X factor. So we have very similar teams. I think we have the edge on defense, but they have the edge at quarterback, at least for now, until Deshaun fully turns into 2020 version of himself, if that ever happens. And we both have great running games. So, man, yeah, it's hard to predict what could happen. I mean, I could see them blowing us out. I could see us winning in a competitive game, everything in between. So, yeah, man, I'm nervous as hell. But it's good. It's good to be nervous. It's good to have things to lose. Gosh, can you imagine if we were 4-4 heading into this week, or God forbid we'd have a losing record? This isn't a must win because we can still absolutely make the playoffs if we lose this game. But if we win this game, we still have hopes to win the division, which, gosh, feels crazy to even talk about. But we could still win this division, which is by far the toughest division in football. So we'll see what happens this week. And yes, I agree. We are going to learn a lot about who Deshaun is as a football player, but also in terms of willpower, character, what kind of person he can be as a football player.
Because show me that you're going to underthrow people in the fourth quarter, and I'm going to stand up right here. I'm going to rip every single Browns gear that I have. I'm going to call Jimmy and D, and I'm going to let them know how I feel, because that's the last thing we want to do. And that's the thing about this game, is that we have a couple division games again. We need to split with Baltimore, but why do we need to split with Baltimore? Because the AFC North is different. Because the AFC North is the best division in football. We have the most wins by so much more than what we discussed last time. But Tom, I want to know, do you think all four AFC North teams are going to make history and all go to the playoffs? Because right now, if it was the playoffs, all four teams make it in.
Just because we have to keep playing each other, I think we probably won't all make it, but it's clearly possible. It's clearly in the cards right now. I mean, you have your four division leaders, and then the rest of the playoff teams in the AFC, the three wild cards, are all AFC North. I mean, it's not even a competition at this point, which division is the best in football. It's us by a mile. Like, crazy. I don't even know who would put themselves, put their hat in the ring for, we're also a really good division. I'm not even sure at this point. I guess the NFC East, maybe, but I think they're proving this year that last year was a fluke and the NFC was just thin. The AFC is so much deeper than the NFC. There's so many teams that are 5-3, 4-3, 3-4. It's so competitive right now. It's awesome football. And the AFC North, the cream is rising to the top. And yeah, man, it's crazy to think about. The Steelers keep winning games and the Bengals are getting hot. and the Ravens are just playing mistake-free football for the most part. So, yeah, man, if we were in any other division, we would be a playoff lock and probably a division champ without a question. But because our division is so competitive, we might not make the playoffs, and that's just the reality.
But that's why winning is important. Like, we have to at least split with the Steelers and the Ravens. Like, that's what we have to do, because they're saying right now if we went to the playoffs, the Bills don't make it, which is incredible to think about. Josh Allen, top 5 quarterback in the league, wouldn't be able to make it. So it's so tough. That's why I really do believe it is a must-win against the Ravens. This is the highest the stakes have ever been. And we're going to Baltimore. Baltimore coming off of whooping Seattle, who beat us. So, man, if we can get that win, drop them to 7-3, watch the Steelers play out. I'm kind of sitting here, and every week I'm like, man, the Steelers will fizzle out, and they don't. And it's really, really frustrating. But we do play each other, so you are correct. Like, this stuff will fizzle out, but the Bengals are on the up and up, and the Browns are on the up and up. And say the Steelers go down, that's still, I mean, dang,
it's still
this
3 of 4
division
teams,
sucks.
yeah.
That's crazy.
It's so brutal. So, Zach, since we last spoke, it's been a full week, but 4 games for the Cavaliers since then. So we've played New York twice. We played Indiana in the in-season tournament first game, and then we also played the Warriors on Sunday. So the Cavs got healthier. Jarrett Allen came back. What are your initial reactions to these 4 games? How are you feeling? I know we were a little bit worried when we had a 1-2 start. How are you feeling now?
I'm not worried anymore. I think we even said it when we were worried. We're just waiting for J.A. to come back. We played him a little bit, right? In the first game he comes back, and instantly you notice there's a defensive edge to our team. Defense right now is 16th in the league. We were the worst in the league before Jarrett Allen came back. So we're making those steps. We have room to improve. There's some things, to look out for. We're giving Strus incredible minutes. There's a storyline that I really want the TWP listeners, and guys, smash that button so we can come back to this. Donovan Mitchell is on pace to becoming the scoring leader for the NBA. That is dangerous. It's dangerous for the league. It's really good for us, for the Cavs. Real quick, Tom, so we split with the Knicks, right? 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see enough for that last playoff run to just feel like we can forget about it, move forward?
Well, we didn't have J.A. in either of those games. And we lost the first one in Cleveland, and we won in New York. So there's a few takeaways for me. First off, we really missed J.A. Like, I know that our big men kind of got dominated in the playoffs, but I wanted to see them have their vengeance game, and we didn't really get to see that. Number 2,
it's true.
I don't think I hate anyone in the league more at this point than I hate Jalen Brunson. Everything about him is what I don't like about basketball. He's a pouty little brat. He's literally always like this. He shoots free throws. He goes, he looks like he's a little brat. And I know I just said a bunch of superficial stuff, but in terms of actual basketball play, every time he comes off a screen with the ball in his hands, he stops, he looks where the defender is, and he sticks his little butt out like a freaking homecoming freshman sticking their ass out for their first grind. Like, that's what he looks like every time he shoots in the mid-range. He sticks his little butt out, and he shoots, and he gets the worst foul calls. I thought the league was trying to get rid of those. Like, I thought they were trying to get rid of the Trae Young and James Harden BS play calls. But he lives by that. That is what Brunson's whole career is based off at this point, is exploiting the rules. He's good. He's a tough player. But, I mean, if you took away all of his BS free throws, he's like a 10 to 15 points a game kind of guy. He's okay. I hate watching him play. He somehow gets along with the refs, and they give him every call, and he's a little brat.
Can we talk about that really quickly? How Darius Garland is the first player basically this year in the NBA to get a flopping call, and then we never see that called ever again, except against the Cavs. Like, Jalen Brunson, This is
every
the guy
play.
you want to stop.
Every play is a flop. Every single
it's like
play.
he's doing the wave. It's like, dude, we
and
called
I'm telling
one.
you, he's always sticking his little butt out. It's like, what are you doing? That's not part of a shooting form. Like
Ridiculous.
Okay. One other point I wanted to make about these Knicks Cavs matchups. So we went 1-1. Ultimately, it does feel good to walk away from that 1-1. The thing that really stung, and I'm not trying to think about, is that Donovan Mitchell looks like a different animal in New York. And I was like, is that because he likes New York? Is that because he's from New York? Or am I going to be hopeful and say it's because he wanted to beat their ass? He wanted to beat them in New York and stick it to their fans. I want to believe it's the latter, but my heart says he loves playing in New York, and that still scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, the problem is when you think about it now, you go, we have 70-plus games to go, and that is really traumatic on the brain because, I mean, we said this in the early pods. It doesn't look like he's going to stay. There's too much smoke. When the announcers are talking about it, that's way too much smoke. It has trickled down in this Ronald Reagan economy all the way to the announcers. And quick shout. Can we do a quick shout out to Tristan Thompson? The guy is sitting on an ESPN, board with Brian Windhorst and Malika Andrews, and then the next, he's actually impactful. I like watching him. He has a great screen that he sets. I mean, it was like a moving screen the first couple games. They were like, Tristan, you've been out of the league, but since then we have eliminated moving screens only against the Cavs. So he had to kind of learn that, but TT's playing well. And the other point that I want to make is Darius Garland is 8% from 3 so far. I'm not saying I'm worried. I don't know if it's the extra muscle. He maybe doesn't know how to shoot. I don't know if he's not able to get in a rhythm with Donovan Mitchell being the leading scorer, because when you are on pace to be the leading scorer, there's people that are going to be affected by that. When Tracy McGrady was the leading scorer, Yao Ming and the third guy after that couldn't eat. It just doesn't happen. So I don't know what's going on there. But I also, in that same realm where we're worried about his three-point shooting at 8%, it doesn't, playing the Knicks was the eye test that you could go back and compare. He was getting hit in the paint and he wasn't moving that far. It looked like the muscle was, helping him stay where he is. I don't know if he just needs to adjust, but it's just one thing that I am kind of let's see where this goes, because DG is a great three-point shooter historically.
All right, you just touched on a bunch of things, and I want to try and hit them all. TT, yes, he has been an incredible acquisition, and he is providing that veteran leadership and that veteran spirit. He is the perfect person for Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley to have barking in their ears. He's like, guys, this is our paint. We do not let people in our paint. And Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley are famously nice guys. Don't talk trash, and they'll be respectful. They'll never throw the first or second punch. But Tristan Thompson will throw the first 3 punches. I said when we got him, it was almost like we got a hockey goon. We got a guy who's just going to go out there and pick fights. But he's still doing what he did when we had him in our championship run, which is he's tipping the ball for offensive rebounds, and he's not getting the rebound, but he's tipping it to players. He does that better than anybody in the league, and his screens are good, and he's valuable around the basket. He's been great, and I think ultimately he will be good for Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen to develop some bite to their games. I didn't realize how poorly Darius Garland's three-point shooting was. I did notice that he looked a little shaky from 3, and he looked a little bit kind of like the way Deshaun has looked with throwing the ball on the run a few times, where I was like, oh, you got a case of the yips, man. Take a deep breath. Believe in your shot. You're a dog. But I will say the added weight has already shown in terms of him driving the ball, finishing at the basket and ones. He's definitely bigger, and it's definitely helping with him having a productive mid-range and near the basket production, which is something that really wasn't a part of his game. So I think the threes will come in time. The threes, obviously, the streakiest part of basketball. So I think he'll settle down and he'll get better at that. But it's definitely something to watch. But in the meantime, he's producing when he's playing, and he's getting to the rack, which he has not done. So I feel good about him.
Can I make a quick note here?
Yeah.
Totally unrelated, kind of. But wearing these black jerseys against Golden State, it felt just a little sweeter. It just kind of took me back to this moment in time, and Kyrie hitting a three. And I mean, they're not the longer sleeves, but they did that on purpose, Tom, right? Like, that was beautiful to watch.
It's Cleveland nostalgia in the best way. It just looks great. Now, I want to jump into more Warriors-Cavs talk, but let's just touch on quickly the Indy game, the start of the in-season tournament. First off, why is the in-season tournament starting 5 games in? I know it's truly just an attempt to get more people to watch games at this point in the season, but it feels like it couldn't matter less. And they're like, it's a cash prize. Like, again, these people are paid more than doctors. Like, even the 12th man on the roster is probably making around $1 million to $500,000. So a $500,000 check is a lot to them. But I just think the in-season tournament's stupid, and until they have some basketball consequences like home court advantage or a guaranteed playoff spot or something that makes sense, no one's going to give a crap. But I just wanted to... You complimented our black jerseys. I think their black jerseys look like knockoff Miami Vice jerseys. They look awful, and their blue court also awful. Like, I thought it was going to be like a fun event, and I walked away. I mean, of course we lost, so that's part of why I didn't like it, but watching it, the whole spectacle of it, I was like, this is stupid. I think the big 3 is more fun than this.
So Brian Windhorst broke a report, and I don't know which team this is. It might be, I think it's Miami, but anyways, there's an NBA team where NBA players came to shoot, before the game started, and they missed all the threes. They go back, and they're like, this game started in a couple hours, guys. It feels weird. Come to find out, the team who made these courts, they had the three-point line wrong. So they had to go and they had to readjust the three-point line. Tell me you don't know what you're doing with these courts, with these jerseys, with this in-season tournament without telling me, Adam Silver, because I am not impressed. And I don't, like I'm with you, I don't know if it's because we lost a close game, which I felt was just coached a little wrong towards the end. We had the game the whole way, and maybe that left a bad taste in my mouth, but the fact that they got the three-point line wrong in one court raises the questions for the other ones. It's like, man, did we actually lose because the court was wrong? That's where my brain goes. But man, it's I guess Friday night they unleashed this. Man, I don't know. I'm willing to give it a little whatever. But to your point about this $500,000, the only people that it really matters is the bottom half of the roster. And those guys aren't playing to make this win. So, like, Donovan Mitchell could care less about $500K. That's $200 after tax. That's like one private jet plane to New York so he can watch the Mets game. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah. There's a lot of issues with it. And, yeah, I will say also our game against the Pacers, like, it was in Indy, and they were getting a lot of Pacers calls. I think we were down pretty big at halftime, but we had an edge, like, no, we're still the better team and we're going to win this game. And so I felt like we were going to win, and I was pretty frustrated afterward. But J.A. came back that game. You could see the defense start to evolve.
So good.
Like, start to remember who they were. And then we played the Warriors, and I want to go in depth a little bit on this Warriors game, because not only did we look fresh as hell like we did in the finals, but our defense led the way. We made the Warriors look like they didn't know how to shoot. I think it was like well into the second quarter, almost halftime, when Curry still only had like 5 points. And that's just, we were not letting them get into the paint. Until like well into the fourth quarter, they were not getting any mid-range shots or anything close to the bucket. It was all threes, and they lived and died by it. And that's what you can expect from this team moving forward, is that their defense is going to drive games. It's going to, we're going to be able to have streaky shooting when our defense is dominating other people and constantly putting them in the lowest shooting percentage they've had all year. It was awesome to have a double feature on Sunday of Browns and then Cavs, and both of them were defensive, just master classes in ass whooping. It was awesome, man. It was such a good day.
It was a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. The Browns win. Myles Garrett goes crazy. Myles Garrett, the same thing he's wearing to the post-game press conference, wears it courtside to the Cavs game, which, by the way, he's a part owner of, and is just sitting there and gets the loudest standing ovation I have ever seen for a guy that is, not in the NBA. So it was beautiful. Sunday we won twice, and then you compare that to a few Sundays, not even Sunday, but after the Browns and the Steelers played, and that depressing pit in the stomach of losing Nick Chubb, having no hope, and then you go on a Sunday where the Cavs win, beautiful, the Browns win, beautiful, Myles Garrett, that theme is right there. What a great Sunday. Tom, can every freaking Sunday be like that? Because that was amazing.
I wish, but it only happens every once in a while, so you gotta bask in it while it happens. And
Absolutely.
I love that, we're a blue collar, tough city, and our teams represent that. Like the city can absolutely identify with these teams that lead with their defense, that lead with grit, and it's just so cool to see them play in a similar way. These two, otherwise completely separate organizations, they both represent Cleveland so well.
Absolutely. And, another thing that represents Cleveland well, guys, and in this first half of the podcast is TWP. We are the witnesses. We have an intro song. Well, we got everything for you guys, right? We appreciate you if you've stuck around here. Guys, liking, subscribing, it really does help us out. Boosts our engagement. It gets us, to where we need to be. And, guys, we need to be the only thing Cleveland talks about, because we have a unique take on everything. Two experts, two boys, sitting here chopping it up in a professional manner. Guys, smash that subscribe button. Hit that bell so you never miss nothing. But mainly, we appreciate you if you've been listening. If you just skipped towards the end, you accidentally came here, thank you for being here. This concludes the first half of the Rational Podcast. But guys, stick around because we got spicy takes. We got some crazier than sriracha takes coming up, and they're all real. They're all honest, and they're all great perspective.
100% confirmed.
100% confirmed, guys. No exaggerations moving forward from here. For those of you that are signing off, we appreciate you. Tom, little TW piece for
yeah.
Just, guys,
give it to the OGs,
guys. Ready, set, TWP.
Peace. So, Zach, we have some parallels with our two professional Cleveland sports teams. They're both led by great defenses. The Browns having a historically great year defensively, and the Cavs, with the return of Jarrett Allen, are again seen as an absolutely dominant defensive front. It's just really cool to see this come through with these two teams. I mean, how do you feel about this? Isn't this exactly what Cleveland is?
It is exactly what Cleveland is. It's grit, it's grind. There's no other city that does it like Cleveland, and there's no city that makes defense beautiful to watch. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, both the NFL and the NBA are moving toward rule changes that focus on protecting offense, getting the scores up, making it a more exciting game. And Cleveland said, no, we're actually going to go upstream. We're going to focus on defense. We're going to make defense pretty. We're going to be breaking necks, cashing checks. Cleveland defense is who Cleveland is. It's exactly who we should want to be. We want to be the team that says, we're going to stop you at what you're best at. That's our identity.
Victor Wembanyama's coming off a 30-point game. He's got people buying into League Pass. His jersey's sold out. Tom, is Wemby for real or for fake?
I mean, I said it before the season. I didn't think he was going to live up to the hype. I thought he was too frail and I thought he was cooking a bunch of European bums. But no, this guy's legit, and the hype, he has met it. And I'm nervous about what this means for the league. How are you feeling about Wemby?
If he had back-to-back 30-point games, that's when I go, I'm not just nervous. I'm not, what does this mean for LeBron's legacy? What does this mean for Bronny James's legacy? All of that stuff I'm thinking about in the back of my mind. But the fact that he has a come-to-Jesus moment against the Indiana Pacers right after that, Obi Toppin outscoring him, keeping him under 20 points, makes me think this guy's human. But this guy is good, man. This guy... There's a reason you can't find his jersey anywhere, and that's just because he might be the second best Spur after Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, you can't teach 7 foot, and you can't teach 7'4", and he's got skills. It's very clear he's got some skills that I think are more developed than what I anticipated. Gosh, why is San Antonio just blessed with talent? Like, they always get the number 1 pick at the right time. David Robinson to Tim Duncan, now to Victor Wembanyama, who could be the best of all 3 of them.
Haven't even mentioned Kawhi. That's how good this guy is.
And we won't. Because the Clippers suck.
Clippers are we don't even need to talk about them. They're literally the
not
worst
worth
team.
mentioning. So, Zach, there's a few teams who've started the season a little bit slower than expected. I think the Lakers, Heat, and Suns are all 3-4 right now. The Kings are at 2-5 or 2-6, and the Grizzlies are at a miserable 1-6. Is it time to panic for any of these teams? Any cause for concern, or not worried? It's too early. What do you think?
I'm not worried for anyone on here except I'm just kidding. You need to be worried about all of these people. Memphis Grizzlies have lost Ja Morant for 25 games. They can barely win. The Los Angeles Lakers are being led by a guy, LeBron James, who had a minute restriction and then quickly rescinded right after the first game because he can't stay on a minute restriction if they want him to win. Also, where is Anthony Davis in all of this? Okay, the Heat will never ever make it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the next 10 years. And the Suns, guys, Bradley Beal's not playing. When is he coming back? If he comes back, will they even have a defense that is top 32 in the league? Who the heck knows? I mean, is there anyone on here that you're high on, expert?
Absolutely not. But you queued me up perfectly. The team that I wanted to talk about was Sacramento. I mean, they got a 3 seed last year, and they only have 2 wins right now, and they got kicked out of the playoffs, I think, first round. I mean, they put up a decent fight. I think it was Golden State, but everybody saw Golden State versus Sacramento, and nobody cared what their rank was. Golden State is going to wipe them. And, gosh, they should have struck while the pan was hot because, oh, man, I don't think Sacramento's getting back to the playoffs.
So the NBA unleashed an in-season tournament pretty early on. Expert Tom, gimmick, or is this fire?
I'm surprised you're even asking. This is a pure gimmick. It is just about trying to up viewership at this point in the season. All of these courts look dumb as hell, and most of the city jerseys are ass. It's so silly. Like, also, why isn't it a consistent tournament? Why aren't they playing tournament games after each other? It's like 1 tournament game, then 3 regular season games, and then back to a tournament game. Like, none of it makes sense. It's just a cash prize, which these people are already way overpaid. This is so stupid. Let's just go in on these courts for a second, because these look like they were designed by grade school children. This is a joke. I feel like there were nicer courts in backyard basketball. What the heck am I looking at?
Well, at least the city jerseys are fire, right? No? Oh. So the jerseys suck, the courts suck, for what? For why are they doing this? I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have the best court. I mean, would you agree with that?
I agree, but it's mainly because it's just the court that looks normal. One of these looks like it's a Frankenstein-themed court. The Indiana one, what is that? And I heard that one of these cities didn't properly measure their three-point line on these city courts. Can you imagine if that game happened after they didn't have the lines properly measured. This is such a joke. It's so rushed, and it's such a pathetic excuse for them to try and up viewership at this point in the season. Just have competitive games, and people will care. But you need to have something of consequence for anyone to give a shit about this. So, Zach, on Sunday, a player on the field, Damian Harris, was carted off and then taken away in the new Damar Hamlin ambulance. What's the NFL trying to do here?
This is a clear money grab. It's 100% confirmed. I mean, this guy almost died. Can we let him grieve in peace? Nobody that's grandma is on some ICU bed. Nobody's coming out here and bringing that bed in any bed. You want to buy a purple mattress, they're going to bring, this was the one that your grandma almost died in. Listen, let this guy grieve in peace. Then they zoom in on him while he's crying. They're like, Damar Hamlin stays an extra hour at the Bengals stadium where he almost died. How cool is that? How cool is that, NFL? Can we get the camera off? Can we let this guy grieve in peace? I mean, it's just so disgusting how much of a cash grab this is for a guy that 1 second goes and they don't give him that CPR. The NFL could be done, right, Tom?
I got 2 points. One, if I was in a burning building and I had third-degree burns and I was put into an ambulance that was covered in football jerseys, I would be a little worried. I would think, why am I in a sports bar right now when I'm near death? My second point is the NFL knows how screwed they were when Damar Hamlin had his incident last year and almost died on the field. They knew the season could be postponed, if not fully canceled, and they would have lost so much money. And now they're trying to turn it into something positive, like, isn't it great that they have an ambulance with his jersey on it? And isn't it great that he's here sobbing, thinking about how he almost died? Like, why are they not only trying to make money on this, but also convince us that this is something good? This was a tragedy. We almost saw the NFL get canceled.
They're just trying to parade it. He didn't die, and therefore the NFL's so safe. Every 5 seconds that goes by, guys, and Damar Hamlin's revival was a 3-team process from the NFL, the Bengals, and the Bills. These medical staffs are out of this world. It was freaking traumatic, okay? Let's not always have Adam Schefter breaking news. He is not starting today because he's not that good, because less than a year ago, his life was almost out of his hands. Guys, let this guy grieve in peace. Let this guy go through what he needs to go through. The trauma that he's facing, let's not plaster this all over. Let's give him the money he deserves. Let's donate to who we need to. But let's not retire his jersey on an ambulance.
Yeah, let's stop talking about it, and let's stop pointing the camera on him when he's literally crying, thinking about almost dying.
So, Tom, apparently the World Series happened. I didn't watch it. Did you?
No, and apparently no one else did. This is the lowest viewed World Series in television history. I think it has to do with, one, the fact that baseball's kind of boring, and two, these are two markets that don't have strong fan bases. You can have a mid-level market team make it to the World Series and it'll pop, like Cleveland versus Chicago in 2016 was the most viewed since 2004 when the Red Sox broke the record, the Great Bambino curse. So this was tough, and it's sad because they did all these extra rules this year. They did the pitch clock. They did all these different things to try and make the casual viewer more interested. And it bit them in the butt because this is becoming not the third most popular sport in the country. It's definitely football 1, definitely basketball 2. Is hockey going to be 3 before we know it?
So, guys, Codler Murray, a.k.a. Kyler Murray, is making his first start the weekend that the new Call of Duty comes out. Given that every double XP weekend on Call of Duty he always does really bad, chart attached. Tom, are you worried about Codler Murray's return? Is he gonna make a splash in the league?
I think the only week that he has a chance to be successful is this first week when the game is released on the day of his game, because he won't be able to play it that day. But it's perfect for the Cardinals. They're tanking. he'll be bad all year. He's recovering from an injury, but he is, as always, definitely more concerned about playing Call of Duty. What do you think?
I don't know. Do you think there's a clause? Because they came out with the clause where he had to watch film because he was, watching how, what guns to level up on Call of Duty. Do you think they came out with another clause that's like, you're not allowed to be in terminal for more than 3 games in a row before you have to, please watch film, Codler?
I mean, we just had that Johnny Manziel doc come out that was like zero time on the iPad for watching film. I feel like we're going to have a Kyler Murray doc that's all about him playing Call of Duty, which Call of Duty's fine. I don't hate Call of Duty, or it's a fun game, but I mean, you're one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and you clearly are affected by video games. Like, it's not drugs, it's not alcohol, it's not strip clubs, it's literally Xbox. Well, thank you, tried and true listeners, for listening to our spicy takes. We love that portion. We have just as much fun as we hope you do while listening to it. But thanks again for tuning in. We hit our 10th episode, guys. We're doing it. We're doing it every week. We're sticking to this. So, Zach, let's get out of here on a good TWP. Peace. Thank you.